and this is 89.9 FM, the station for style and groove and style, depending on what comes for you first. This is Saving the Niger Delta with Ann Q Briggs. Today is a sad day. The civil society in Rivers State is holding a protest or a peace rally, or these days I hate to put protests before anything else, because what we're doing is just, and so the protest aspect of it for me gives the wrong impression. So anyway, we are talking about justice for the Ikoku 4 in Rivers State. I think a young man was killed at the hands of the police. This young man was wrongfully arrested along with 4 other persons, I believe. And eventually it turns out, the story is that it turns out that they were actually lawfully assigned and legally and lawfully assigned to the vehicle they were found in. And the assumption or the accusation that they stole the vehicle that they were found in has turned out to be unfounded, has turned out to be untrue. That is one very sad aspect of it. The other sad aspect of it is the fact that for some unexplainable reason, they were beaten, manhandled to the extent that one of them is dead. Even if, assuming that they stole the car, assuming, which they did not, but even assuming that they stole the car, nobody, no police, no army, nobody has the right, if you suspect that somebody has stolen a car or anything, to beat them to death. Especially if you are not saying that they were armed or that they beat you first. And even at that, what the story is that they were beaten in the hands of the police. Really, the police, as they say, they are supposed to be servants of the people. The police is supposed to be our friend. Now, Nigeria, we have found ourselves, unfortunately, between the police, who is supposed to be our friend, and us, who is also supposed to be the friend of the police. There is a great gulf. There is a great gulf of misunderstanding, bordering at enmity. And I always say, either publicly or otherwise discussing privately, that the police is taking out its frustration on the very people on whose behalf they are employed. This is really very sad. From the police to the different arms of the police, whether it is SARS, whether it is anti-robbery, whether it is anti-cultists, whatever it is. These are our employees, they are our sons, they are our brothers, they are our husbands, they are our friends. These are people who belong to people, and people belong to them. And Nigerians are not supposed to die at the hands of the police the way that Nigerians die at the hands of the police. The police is also not supposed to die at the hands of the citizens the way also it happens occasionally. This frustration that is unleashed on the people is breeding frustration also from the part of the people. Justice for the Ikoku 4 is something that must be gotten. And we have a new police commissioner whom, in my opinion, and I think a lot of people may agree with me, that has conducted himself since he arrived in River State in a very professional manner, and that this is happening under his watch is sad. But I also want to say that going by his antecedents since he arrived in River State, I want to believe that he will get to the bottom of this issue. But I believe that the very first thing should be, I'm not a lawyer, but the very first thing, the very point of call, of demand, is that since it has been established by the owner of the car, who also is claiming that his life is at risk, actually, that has proven that his car was not stolen. If this is the truth, then the continued holding of the other 4 that are alive is unnecessary, is illegal. They must be released. Any charges against them should be dropped. And because they have already been charged, I think this is a process that should be undertaken by law. It should be taken to court immediately, very immediately, and discharged with immediately. He was actually going about his daily legal work of being a mechanic is unacceptable under any circumstances. Is unacceptable, and therefore the only succor that can come to him in way of justice, the only relief that can come to his family and friends and the other 4 that are still being held, is for the courts, the police and the courts, to disperse with this case as quickly as possible. And then a civil case should be taken out against the police for the murder, unlawful murder, or dying or killing of this young man that is dead. At that point, may his soul rest in peace. The issue of Amateku in the southwest is still ongoing. It is becoming clearer. The governors and the people of the Yoruba ethnic nationality is standing their ground. The people of the southwest is standing their ground. Now, I am actually becoming confused, because sometimes you hear people say, and I have said it as well, that the identifying of the zones, the political zones of Nigeria, which is 6 and which is broken into different zones of the 36 states, is not I mean, some people say it is not constitutional, some people say it is constitutional. Well, if it is not constitutional, then I'm wondering how the government from 1999 started off by referring to the 3 zones as south, south, southeast, and southwest, and northeast, northwest, and north central. If it is not constitutional, I think the Senate should come up and say so that it is not constitutional. But until then, what we have is that we have 6 states in the south, in what is referred to as the South-South, but what I prefer to refer to as the Niger Delta region, because this is a region that is identified by what it is, and it is a delta. It is one of the delta areas of the world. There are other delta areas in other parts of the world, but I prefer to be identified as a Niger Delta person as opposed to a South-South person. The reason being that the word South-South is a political creation. The same way that the fact that the Niger Delta Development Commission is a political reference when you say that the Niger Delta region is 9 states. Because if you consider that each state belongs to one geopolitical zone or the other, it becomes unacceptable to say that there are 9 states in the Niger Delta region. There are not 9 states. There are 9 oil and gas producing states in Nigeria. 1 in the southwest, Ondo, 2 in the southeast, Imo and Abia, and 6 in the Niger Delta region, which is the political South-South. So we either stop confusing ourselves and accept things as they are, and begin to make these changes, because most of these names are actually created. Even the creation of states, the creation of local government areas, are done selfishly, or were done selfishly by the military. And if you look at the people that created the states and the people that continue to create the state, and they are all from one particular side of Nigeria, i.e. the northern part of Nigeria. Now, going back to Amatekun, we are not oblivious, nor are we pretending not to know why eventually the the Southwest decided eventually to create the Amatekun operation to protect their lives and the property of their region, of their 6 states, of their communities, their local governments that come under these 6 states, and the region that make up these 6 states. That is the Yoruba nation. We know that the onslaught that the Yorubas perhaps after the Middle Belt or equal to the Middle Belt have suffered more in terms of killings and destruction within the what they started calling farmers headers clashes. There is nothing like farmer headers clashes as far as I'm concerned. When you say that, you are minimizing and reducing the horror that Nigerians are going through at the hands of headsmen. That is one. Now, the reason that people fear is behind all of these things has so manifested so openly that you're hearing statements being made by people representing the presidency. And when you say the presidency says, you're in effect saying the federal government says, because the presidency is the federal government. And so when you hear somebody like Adesina say that Christians should be grateful that Boko Haram is no longer exploding bombs, and that Christians, which I am one, should be grateful that Boko Haram is just beheading people. If I actually say my reaction to that, it may not sound well, but I think I don't believe that it will sound as bad as what Adesina had said. And this is the man who claims to be a Christian. What a pity. All right, so these are the reasons, some of the reasons why the Yoruba people have put Amatekun together. Now, whether it is whether they are raising a different set of bill in their different states, to justify whatever it is that they are doing. They will go ahead and do it. And we must support, not only must all the states in Nigeria and therefore all the geopolitical zones in Nigeria support Amateku. They must actually want to have their own version of Amateku. I was very excited when somebody, I saw it on Facebook, somebody used the different alphabets of the Niger Delta states and came up with red crab. If you put all the names of the different states that make up the Niger Delta, you can actually use the different alphabets and come up with red crab. Now, the idea and the concept is that we must, the Niger Delta people must call on their governors, on their states reps, on their house of state house of representatives and the House of Representatives at the federal level to very quickly use the example of the Southwest, come up with their bill. In Rivers State, we already have passed the bill with the neighborhood watch. Akwa Ibom and the others, Bayelsa, everybody has to do the same. Come together as a region and give their own protection outfit a name. We're not, I do not believe that we're calling for the regions to form their own private army or their own separate police force or air force or navy or whatever the case may be. What we're saying is that when you hear the Senate president use the word deteriorate, when I looked it up, it means getting worse. So the Senate president has accepted that the issue of insecurity in Nigeria is getting worse. That's frightening. He is the number 3 citizen in this country. Here, the president of Nigeria says that he is baffled. This is the same president that is saying to the American government, the British government, the EU, that Boko Haram is defeated. Sometimes they are technically defeated, sometimes they are very defeated, and sometimes they are not. Whatever the case may be, when the president of any country says that he is baffled at the level of insecurity, when I looked it up, it means unexplained occurrence. So, unexplained occurrence almost borders on the supernatural. So, the Boko Haram is being, we're being told that there is something maybe supernatural about Boko Haram. We don't know, we almost don't know who they are or where they're coming from. So, and then we also have this very critical issue of this new strain of disease that has developed in China. Now, all the Chinese people in Nigeria, wherever they are, whether they are illegally mining marble, illegally mining gold, whether they are building railway lines, whether they are doing what do you call this, whether they're doing corporate social responsibility, whatever it is that the Chinese people are doing in Nigeria, they dropped it all and traveled to China for the celebration of their new year. Anybody that has sense, and I've put this out on Facebook, one, a lot of Nigerians go to China. If those people are coming back, Nigeria should very quickly isolate the ones that are coming back. First and foremost, they should quarantine them. I'm very serious. They should quarantine them because we don't even have the capacity to very well take care of malaria in this country, not to talk of what other people are bringing into Nigeria. They should quarantine them. And the Chinese people who are working, whether they are working in mining, marble or whatever, building railway, if they are coming, they should tell them, not if safe, they should tell them not to come. They should tell them, Nigerian government should tell the Chinese people not to come back to Nigeria. Even they from whom this thing is coming have no answer right now. And so I will even suggest, I'm going to look for a face mask today to start wearing this thing, because you can even pass it on without even knowing that you have it. So this is a very terrible thing. And so if Nigerians don't want to be serious about this thing, God forbid, if this thing enters Nigeria, God forbid, we can't even cure malaria in Nigeria very effectively, not to talk of this strain. So these are things that we should be calling on our governors, we should be calling on our House of Representatives to raise. They must raise these issues in the Senate. So those are the things that we need to address, and we need to look at, and we need to discuss the issue of security in Nigeria. If we just sit down and fold our hands and talk about unity, I think unity will happen when people are alive. Any Niger Delta person today that is officially speaking on behalf of Niger Delta people and claiming that they are talking about how to unite Nigeria without addressing the issues of the injustice that the different areas of peoples are suffering in Nigeria today. I think if you are from the Niger Delta and that is what you are driving, I don't think that you are driving the right thing for Niger Delta people. Let us talk about justice and equity first. Let us get that sorted out. Let us get security sorted out. Let us get our rights established. Because if there is disunity in Nigeria today, it is as a manifestation of these issues. You cannot put the horse before the, you cannot put the cart before the horse. It is the horse that is pulling the cart. The cart cannot pull the horse. So these are very, very important and very serious matters that we should be looking at. And we should not be looking at issues anymore in a way that we drop this one, we go to the other one. The issue of the neighborhood watch already in Rivers State, the bill is passed by our assembly, our state assembly. I read somewhere that Governor Wike dropped it because of how to raise money to pay. That's not true now. That is not true. That's false. That is not why. He was stopped by the army from going ahead with the recruitment and the training of the youths that needs to be employed.